Hello folks, welcome to Martin's Kitchen up here in Rollstown. Today it's healthy night tonight. Basically it's meat and potato and 2 veg, but everything's going to be cooked on the top of the stove. There's nothing in the oven. So today's dish is just grilled, sort of char grilled chicken supreme, but what we're going to do is we're going to cut it horizontal. So we've got like small thin slices that will cook quicker. We're serving it with a sweet potato, like a spiced, not hot sweet potato, but spiced sweet potato puree. We're going to char some tenderstem broccoli, and we're just going to serve with some spinach. But sort of spices we've got a bit of chilli, ginger, garlic, and then for the sweet potato puree we've got cinnamon, nutmeg, a bit of ginger, a few spices, but we'll talk through them. So the quickest thing, the longest to take to cook on this dish is the sweet potato. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that on first. What we'll do is we'll peel it, we'll chop it up nice and small, we'll sweat it off in a bit of sort of low calorie or extra virgin olive oil, and then we'll add the spices, we'll add some water to it, we'll take it to sort of really pulpy, and then we'll liquidize it. And while that's sort of cooking, we'll get all the other things. So I have a kettle boiling for just to cook the tender stem broccoli. So I've already washed my hands. So the first job is just to peel the sweet potato. And I have about 700 grams of sweet potato here. And I do have a bin here, by the way, just in case. And I say this calorie wise, this dish is 550 calories per person, but I'm cooking for 2 here, so okay, so that's them peeled. So what we need to do now is just cut them small, and these are rock hard, so just be careful. What I always do is just take a wee bit off so you get a flat surface, so it's nice and flat. I'm just going to grab a saucepan here, and what I'm going to do is just put in just a small bit of extra virgin olive oil, just a wee drizzle, and then just cut through it, cut it again. So you've got we're going for small dice. You could slice it, but just nice small dice. And this will cook quick. This will probably cook in about 10 minutes. It doesn't take long to cook sweet potato. And we're just going to put a wee bit of garlic in this, not too much. You don't want to overpower it. So probably just a quarter of a clove of garlic. And it is a healthy dish, but it's tasty. I mean, it's not going to be hot, spicy, but it's just going to have nice sort of nice flavours. Okay, so I'm only going to put about maybe just a quarter to a half, depending on the size of the clove of garlic in it. You don't want it too strong, so just 3 or 4 slices. That's probably enough. And salt and pepper. So we're just going to put this on, and if you can get a saucepan with a lid, that's better. So right, so that's the start of that. That's going to be your sweet potato puree. Bits flying everywhere, but we'll get that later. So we're going to sweat that for a couple of minutes first, and then we're just going to add the spices. I've got 4 here. You could use like whatever spice you want, but I've got a bit of ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, and ground cumin, and we're just going to add a small amount of each of them. So just turn that up a wee bit. So we'll just get that started. We're not wanting to fry it or anything, we just want sort of all the oils to coat it. So that's the thing. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to, I have the water, a kettle boiling here. This is just for the tender stem broccoli. We're going to blanch it first in boiling salted water, then we're going to refresh it in cold water, and then after we cook the chicken on the griddle, we're just going to do the broccoli, and it gives a lovely flavour. So again, if you're cooking any vegetables, always add salt, and that sort of, you know, keeps it nice. Well, it seasons it, but it keeps it sort of nice and green when you refresh it. So anyway, this is I'm just going to add a tiny bit more of the oil. So that's just starting, I mean, that's all coated now. So what we're going to do is just get the spices. And this is probably about a quarter of a teaspoon of each. Not a lot. Not even, and listen, if there's ones that you don't fancy too much, don't add them or add less. So here's just a tiny wee bit of ginger. I say you don't want overpowered. So a bit of ginger. And you can use 5 spice, just use a thing of 5 spice, do the job. But this here you can control as much. Cinnamon, I'm not a massive cinnamon fan, so I'm just going to add a tiny wee bit. Nutmeg, again, you don't have to add it, but it does give it a nice sort of wee extra flavour. That's probably about equal quantities there I'm putting in. And then just some ground cumin. So say this isn't going to be hot, spicy hot. It's just going to have nice flavours running through it. Just give that a wee mix. So all those spices are, and then just some salt. And some pepper. And you can hear it's just starting to cook now. So then we're just going to add some water. I have 250 mils there. We might need more, but we'll just keep adding it a bit at a time. So that's that. I'm just sort of medium heat. And I'm just going to put a lid on it, which will make it cook quicker. Okay, and we'll keep coming back to that and stirring it. So what we're going to do now is the sprouted broccoli. The water is boiling, so that's it. You don't have to prep this. If it's big long stalks, take a bit off the end, but you don't have to do it in this. It is lovely. I think it's much nicer than normal broccoli. So just in boiling salted water, and that is going to get no more than 2 minutes. So we'll keep an eye on it. We won't forget it, because if you forget that, it just goes to mush. So that's that. We'll keep an eye on both those. So what we've got here now is the ginger and the chilli. So the ginger and the chilli, this is for the broccoli. So we're just going to, we don't want too much. So I'm just going to get probably about an inch cube of ginger. I'll pin it down. But we're going to dice this nice and thin, really small. You don't want to bite into a big chunk of ginger. That's probably enough. And again, chilli, as much or as little as you want. So I'm going to dice it all, but we're going to keep some back just to sprinkle over the top. So again, it's up to you. If you want to take the seeds out, take them out. This is probably the hot bit of the dish, but these chilies aren't too hot. And I'm just keeping an eye on my broccoli because it's probably had about a minute now. Yeah, and we're going to drain that in about 30-40 seconds and straight into cold water. And then we'll dry it and we'll griddle it. Okay. So that's that, and the ginger. So what we're going to do now is, you want to keep this nice and sort of al dente. So that's ready. That's had probably not even 2 minutes. But if you look at the colour on that, straight in, you can put it into ice water. Ice water will stop the cooking a lot quicker. And don't wash that out, we're going to use that again. So just let the cold water run on that for a few minutes while we get this here ready. And we'll go back and we'll stir the sweet potato. I'll just turn up a wee bit. So in there, I say we've got the small bit of oil, sweet potato diced up nice and small, garlic, the spices, and some water. And that won't take long to cook. Okay, back to the chilli and the ginger. So this here, I'm just going to cut it nice and really small. But take your time doing this. So I just cut it into like matchsticks and then just turn it around. Keep the knife on the board and just run the knife through it. So you get a really small dice. And you can use green chilli if you want them in. And use as much or as little as you want. And the same with the ginger, we're just going to dice that up. And I say everything's going to be cooked on top of the stove, so you don't need the oven on. If you wanted to cook the chicken whole, or sorry, the chicken breast whole, yes, maybe put the oven on because you couldn't cook them fully through on the top. But what we're going to do is I say we're going to make them nice and thin so they cook quicker. So that's your chilli, nice and small, and the ginger. Just the same, just cut it into as thin as you can cut it, stack them up, and again then just cut them into like wee matchsticks. Turn it around, line them all up again, just so you have a nice thing, and then just run the knife through it. Again, personal choice. If you don't like ginger, but ginger finishes this dish. With the broccoli, it's a lovely, gives a lovely taste to it. Just add as much or little as you want. I will put the amounts on the video, the ingredients and the quantities, but cooking's all about what you want, not what the chef tells you to eat. That's probably enough ginger. So we've got that there. So what we're going to do now, this is for the broccoli, this is for the chicken. Just going to put in probably 3/4 of the chilli and all of the ginger. So we're just going to keep that wee bit of chilli back just to sprinkle over at the end. And a small bit of the olive oil, just a drizzle. I'm going to go back to stir the sweet potatoes again. Yeah, I mean, I can just start to see, you probably can't pick it up, but I can see they're starting to soften. But we'll just keep an eye on it. And what we're going to do now is just, that broccoli is nice and cool. Just let it drain there for a few seconds. And then we'll sort of dry it off because you don't want any water in it. We'll mix it with this, we'll season it up, and that'll be ready to go. So that's that. So what we're going to do now is just the chicken. So again, always use a separate board, or always wash your hands after chicken. We're just going to cut this horizontal. We'll cook that wee bit of fillet as well. So there's me telling you to put something below it. Practice what I preach. So just to stop it from sliding, just a wee bit of wet tissue. Yeah, it stops it from sliding. And what we're going to do is just, you've got a thin end and you've got a thick end. We want 2 pieces that are as close to the same thickness the whole way, so that it cooks evenly. So I'm just starting there, and I'm working my way. And as I get to the thick end, I'm just trying to keep it that they're all the same thickness. And I just put it in there. That's nice. That'll cook in less than 5 minutes. And the same with the other one. Again, we'll cook those wee fillets as well. Don't waste them. Just put that wee bit off. Same again. So you want 2 bits that are as close to the same size as possible. So this your chicken done. And I'm going to wash my hands and wash the knife. So that's all done with it. What we'll do first, we'll just give that a wee drizzle. If you're ever griddling stuff, put the oil on the meat. Don't put the oil on the griddle. You get nicer lines, nicer marked lines on it. And we're just going to season that. Just salt and pepper. There's no spices going into this here, other than the salt and the pepper. I say I use Malden salt. It's a lovely salt. You can get it in sort of most of the big supermarkets. So that's that. We'll just give it a wee toss, just so it's completely coated. And I say, get that ready the day before. You don't have to, but it'll just save you a wee bit of time on the day. That's coated nicely, just in the olive oil, the salt and the pepper. And we'll just leave that to the side there. That's ready to go. So we'll just give the sweet potato. Yeah. another sort of maybe 5-6 minutes and that'll break down nicely, and then we'll liquidize it. But this is the type of liquidizer I'm using. If you haven't got one of these, use a stick blender, or if you don't have one of them, just use an ordinary masher. You won't get it perfectly smooth, but you'll get some sort of mash. And then the spinach, the pan that we used for the broccoli, just a tiny bit of the olive oil. Put your spinach in. This is enough for 2. So spinach in, bit of seasoning, salt and pepper, and we're going to cook this at the very last minute. That'll probably take a minute to cook. So no water, never add water to your spinach. So what we're going to do now is just put the pan on to grill the chicken. I'm probably going to have to turn the extraction on, so it might get a wee bit louder. I just see one other ingredient there, lemon. That is just to squeeze over it when it finishes, because lemon it's a nice, just lightens the dish, freshens it up. So listen folks, we're not too far away. So as I said, this is the longest, bit to cook, but it's getting soft now, so it's not far off. I'm just going to give it a wee taste, just to make sure that that's soft. I could almost puree that in a minute. But keep the lid on, it cooks far quicker. So I'm going to let this thing come up to heat. And just another important thing I should have said is, if you're cooking any meat, lift it out of your fridge at least half an hour before you go to cook it. Because if you put something cold onto a hot pan, it cools the pan down, and you don't want that, and then all the water and the liquid comes out of the meat. So bring your chicken, your pork, your beef out of the fridge a good half hour before you go to use it. So I think we can maybe puree the sweet potato. Yeah. So that's ready to puree. So again, we'll just turn that off. And what we'll do, we'll always taste it. Always before you put anything in the plate, taste it. So just put it all in. I think that was about 700 grams of sweet potato. I'm making a bit of a mess here. But if you don't have one of these, and listen, these here are £12, and that'll last you a good one, last you a few years. So if I can get it on. Yeah. Make sure it's turned on. And I'm going to sort of use this spatula to move it in, but be careful you don't catch the blades. I think that might need a wee bit more water, so I'm just going to add just a wee bit more water. So that's probably about 300 mils I've gone through now. It's actually going to take a small bit more water. So I'm probably up to 350 mils of water there. But you judge it, if you want it really thick, less water. That's ready. So we'll just put it back into a sort of the saucepan that it came out of. And there's enough here for, well, at least 2 servings, at least. But it'll keep in the fridge. Don't worry, it won't go off. There's no cream or butter in it. So just scrape it all in there. And that's still very warm. And we'll taste it just before we serve it and make sure it's at the right temperature. So just put it on the lid, put the lid on it, and leave it at the back. So we're virtually nearly to plate up. I'll grab the plate. Always warm your plates up. So there's the plate there. So I've turned the heat up full on this here, and I'm going to turn the fan on, and I might have to open a window or two because there will be a bit of smoke. But I say it doesn't take long to cook. So you'll see the top bit of the chicken is your presentation side. So always put that down first. That's the way you're going to serve it up. And if you don't hear that hissing, take it off. The pan's not hot. The griddle's not hot enough. And this will not take long to cook. And the thing about a lot of meat or fish, if you're cooking, a lot of people think, oh, I need to turn it over, I need to move it, I need to shuffle it about. No, just let that sit. Let that sit there for a few minutes. So what we're going to do now, we're going to get the broccoli ready. So a bit of tissue, and just dry it off, because you don't want too much water in it. And if you look at the colour of that, it is really, really nice and green. Just pat it dry. And I'm going to open the window here, folks, just in case it starts to alarm off. But if you can see that there now, it's starting to go white. But I haven't moved it, I haven't turned it, I haven't done anything with it. I've just put it on there so it's nice and got a nice and charred. So, remember our chilli and ginger. We're just going to put that in there and mix it round. Might need a wee bit more oil on it. And salt, pepper. So that's that season. Just give it a good toss. Just use your hands. Don't be get the chilli and ginger in, right in the wee sort of flowers at the top. That looks lovely now. You can eat that just as it is. So we're just going to go over to the chicken, and hopefully this will be nicely marked. Yep, I'm going to flip it over, but I just want to mark it the other way as well, so you can see it's nicely charred. And that's half cooked already. And we're going to use the same. We're going to use the same pan for the broccoli. The spinach now, we're just going to turn it on the lowest heat possible. And if you look, that's quite a lot of spinach in there. You think, oh, it's too much. It's not. Just, I'm using my hands, they're clean. Just give it a wee mix about, and we'll keep coming back to that because that's going to wilt down and down and down. A bit more. So that'll only take 2 or 3 minutes to cook. The chicken's well over half cooked. So I'll just give it a wee turn. You want those lines on it. That's important. Those sort of brown lines, that's where all the flavour comes from. We'll bring this over here just ready for the... So what I've got here is just a small tray with some tissue, and that takes, the excess water from the spinach. So we'll just give these a flip over now. And they're not far off being ready, because they're nice and thin. And if the alarm goes off in a minute, you'll know. So anyway, maybe a minute for those, and you can tell if chicken's ready. It'll firm up. It won't feel like it did before you put it in. It'll firm up. But if you're unsure, just pop it in the oven for 5 minutes. It won't even need 5 minutes. Just pop it in the oven. They're very, very nearly ready. And we'll just go back to the spinach. Just low heat. Just keep mixing it because the bit at the bottom of the heat will just go mushy. So just keep turning it over. And for chefs, sometimes the easiest way is just with the hand, just move it about, and you'll see that go down and down and down. Right, we'll just test the chicken. I'd say 30 seconds and that's ready. That bit there's ready. That there's ready. That there just slightly thicker, so another 30-40 seconds. That's ready. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that off. We're just going to turn it down slightly and then griddle the tender stems of broccoli. So, just put that there. that's ready. As I said, it doesn't take long. Right, so we're just going to turn the heat down a wee bit. I'm just going to get a wee bit more oil on the... I say this will only take a few, maybe a minute or two. Again, you can see the spinach. It's starting to, at the bottom, it's just starting to cook. So we'll turn that down a wee bit more. You don't want to burn the chilli and the ginger, that's not pleasant. So again, just lay it on it, and you want to hear that sizzle. And this gives it a lovely, it just takes it in a different direction. The flavour wise, it's lovely, sort of, if I say bitter, I mean bitter in a nice way. But when you taste it, you'll know what I mean. It's sort of, it is nice, and this won't take long. It's already cooked. We're just putting a wee bit of flavour in it, and all that there, just sprinkle it on it. So we're very, very nearly there. Just leave that for a few minutes. We'll go to the spinach again. Yeah, you can see the steam coming out of that. So that's nearly ready. The sweet potato, I'm just going to bring it back up to the heat. It should still be warm, but very, very important. We're just going to taste it. But you can taste those spices coming through now. Nothing's overpowering, but you can taste a wee bit of cinnamon, a bit of nutmeg. It is. I'm going to wash it. Just give it a mix through. And the colour of it, it's lovely, and it's silky. That's perfectly smooth. That's what you want. You don't want it too sloppy, and you don't want it too thick. So we're nearly ready with everything, folks. Spinach. It's gone from, you know, down about a fifth in size. So that's ready. Just give it, mix it around, and put that on the tissue because there's a lot of water comes out of spinach. I'm just going to give these a wee turn, and you can see the top of it. It's just starting to char, and that gives it that sort of wee. Slightly bitter, almost smoky. So I'm just going to turn it up a wee bit. Just give them all a flip over. And we're virtually, that's it. I don't know how long we've been at that now, but either supper ready or your dinner ready. And they're good and warm now. So we're there, everybody. We're just going to lift this off onto the tray as well. So that's all ready. Everything's good and hot. The chicken's still hot. The spinach is just off. We're just going to lift this off. Turn it off. Silence is great. Right, so that's all ready. So right, we'll start to build. So. Listen, present this whatever way you want, but I'm just going to go in the middle, a couple of spoonfuls. Just push it out. And then, whatever way you want to show off your presentation skills. So don't forget the lemon. I'll just get a knife. The lemon sort of gives it a lift. It really does. So, spinach next. I'm only presenting one dish. So just a wee pile of spinach. But drain your spinach off because there is a lot of water in it. That is important. A couple of bits of chicken. And then just whatever way you want to preserve or present this tender stem broccoli. And that was just one packet. There's plenty in that. And then just the wee bit of chilli that was left. That just gives it a wee bit of freshness. And a squeeze of lemon, just without the seeds. and we'll clean the plate up in a second. And then just a wee drizzle of the olive oil. That's just a light olive oil. And that's it, folks. Just I'll clean the plate. That's it. If you want to just have a look at that. And we'll test it just to make sure everything's seasoned properly. Make sure it is as you want it. But here, I don't know, 25 minutes. I'm thinking maybe it might be longer, but my wife's just telling me 35 minutes. So, but anyway, listen, you've got a meal for two in 35 minutes. It would, you know, if you're doing a normal Sunday dinner or a Saturday night dinner, it could take you an hour. So there, that's ready. It's a meat, potato, and 2 veg. So listen, we'll just get cut in. I'm just going to try a bit of everything. So if you look, chicken's perfectly cooked. It's still moist, it's not dry. And the end of the sprouting broccoli. It's lovely, it really is. There's nothing too spicy in it. The sweet potato puree has got, you know, those sort of spices, but you know, they're nothing overpowering. The only spice coming through, the hotness, is on the sprouting broccoli. Chicken's lovely and charred, spinach is nice. Give it a go. It's 30-35 minutes. If you have all your ingredients ready, you cook it all on the top. You don't even have to turn the oven on. So that's it, folks. Just have a try. Let me know, take photos, see what it's like, and we'll get another video up soon. Okay, take care, bye.